Hi, this is Chase Utley, and this is the Phillies Show.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Phillies Show with Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury. I'm Todd Zalecki. It is Friday, June 28th, 2024. The Phillies, Thursday night, reached the halfway point of their season. They played 81 games. They have the best record in baseball. They are on pace to win 106 games for the season, which would be a franchise record. But it was kind of a disaster of a night for the Phillies. Potentially, probably. Spencer Turnbull earlier in the day goes on the 15-day injured list with a strained right lat. He's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. And then late in the game, Kyle Schwarber leaves because of left groin tightness. And then on the final play of the game, Bryce Harper pulls up lame as he's running to first base with a left hamstring injury. The Phillies said they will know more on Friday, which is today. But man, oh man, and talk about it coming fast and furious. You know, you lose Turnbull. You already have Walker on the injury list. So now you're going to have Michael Mercado get into the rotation. But losing Harper and Schwarber potentially, that's going to be tough to overcome.
It was your proverbial shit show yesterday on so many levels. I mean, we're talking about on so many levels from 9 o'clock on. I mean, things just got disastrous on for the country and for the Phillies. But I gotta say this: if there's a team that can handle and be resilient enough to be able to handle this kind of stuff, I think it's the Phillies. That said, sometimes, this is a war of attrition. And, one of the biggest concerns that Rob Thompson had, I'm sure, as a GM, Dave Dombrowski, or president of baseball ops, all those guys in the front office is, okay, we got to worry about injury. Now you've got them piling up at a ridiculous rate. Now, the fact that they happened this early is actually not the worst thing in the world. JT happened early. He should be back. Turner's stuff happened early. He's back and playing. But you keep losing guys like this, and it makes it very, very tough. I mean, the rest of the league at some point may be catching up. Again, I say this in so much that the Phillies have the ability and have had the next man up and mentality. But when you start getting like the next 3 men up or 4 men up, it gets a little daunting. My biggest concern is the pitching. I'm less concerned about the offense. I'm more concerned about the pitching because now you've lost Taijuan Walker to a blister or a hot spot, and he can't throw a split, and it's not very good, and he hasn't been very good. Mm-hmm. And then you have Spencer Turnbull, who's going to be sort of like the savior in that rotation, and now he's down. So the next man up and mentality becomes a little bit more difficult when you have to go with the Michael Mercado, who's I like him, but he's not a proven guy. And so you start talking about starting pitching depth. It becomes a little bit more daunting for the guys. Jim?
Well, yeah, next man up is a beautiful thing to say. It's a great quality for a team to have. And this team has indeed had it. They lost Harper for a good stretch in 2022 with the thumb injury, the broken thumb, and then he had the elbow. But they've overcome losses to key players before. They are tough. They are resilient. But even the toughest and most resilient team has its limits. And you're looking at Real Muto down. Schwarber, for all the hand-wringing early in the season about, is he a good leadoff man? Can this team survive with him and the leadoff man? He's been exceptional. They've done a great job. Look at the record. Look at the on-base percentage. Look at the nights they jump out to 1-0 leads or have big first innings and demoralize the other team instantly. And Harper been the best player in baseball pretty much since May 1. He was the player of the month in May. He's maybe going to be the player. He might be the player of the month in June, even with this. Huge losses. There are limits. The goofiest cliche, guys are going to have to step up, but you can only absorb so many losses. They have to hope neither one of these is serious. I think there's a chance that Schwarber's is not. that seemed to have a precautionary bent to it, but it was quite alarming as, Harper's accelerating to the bag. All of a sudden, he's grabbing his left hamstring. That had the look of a pop or something acute. Even if it's mild, like the old grade 1, you're looking at 3 to 4 weeks, right? So we have to wait till what comes back in terms of the evaluations, but it didn't look good. Injuries continue to test this team, injuries to core, important pieces. But this team has been built since day one on starting pitching, and knock on wood, and thank goodness. They just this week they've had a couple setbacks in the starting pitching, but not to the bedrock of that rotation, not to the elite level talent that you've built this team on, that has carried this team so far. But there are limits. You have to hope these things pass quickly and they are not serious. But I love where the team is at the halfway point, 8 games up, pace for 108 wins. But these are little things. Yeah, you gotta take them serious, and you gotta be a little concerned about it because these are such important guys.
Ruben, so you said you're more concerned about the pitching. Is it because you're concerned about if something happens to the other 4 guys, who's going to step up, or are you more concerned about the number 5? And I only say that because I feel like the first 4 guys in that rotation are so good, they could, they can handle Michael Mercado potentially, right? Or whoever, however long it goes. So what's your concern with the rotation? Because when I looked at it, I was like, oh man, if they lose Harper and Schwarber, that's a killer for the offense. But you feel differently.
Yeah, to me, it's about whether or not they lose one of the core play, those other core 4. And when I say core 4, we're talking about Nola, Wheeler, Sanchez, and Suarez. I mean, we lose one of those Phillies lose one of those guys, and you're talking. Now we're starting to talk disastrous. Right now, it's really super concerning. But then you start losing multiples of those pieces. And especially in the rotation, then it becomes disastrous. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so important for Dave Dombrowski to wait and to settle in and to surmise what his real needs are going to be as we get closer and closer to that trade deadline, because these are the things that happen. It's 162 games. And, when I was in this position to be a buyer, you sort of, okay, we needed a right fielder. We needed a new starter. We needed whatever. But you sort of have to wait to see as close to the deadline as you possibly can. And sometimes you're forced to do it because there's so many teams, especially now, there's so many teams sort of in the wild card race. And you don't know who's going to be selling, who's buying. But in this case, in the Phillies case, I mean, you got to really assess, what do I really need? God forbid they have a blowout in one of those core 4 starters. Then you're going to go get a starter. That's what you're going to do. Because if you got Turnbull down, you got an ineffective Taiwan Walker. Now you have to build for, if you're thinking about winning the World Series, you need another starter first and foremost. Right now, I'm all about pitching. I'm always about pitching because at some point, those players who pulled their hamstrings or got those soft tissue injuries, they'll be back. Mm-hmm. That doesn't worry me nearly as much as making sure the guys on the mound can keep guys keep this team in the game as they have done so well this year.
So Michael Mercado, I guess Phillies have an off day on Monday, so they could skip the 5th starter. So Mercado could make 2 or 3, depending on what they do with the rotation before the break. And then after that, who knows? But you talk about like depth behind, your concerns with depth. I was looking at just the AAA performers right now. Maybe the next guy up, if something would happen, as Rob Thompson likes to say, if somebody takes a Schinberger, a line drive comebacker off, it has to leave a game early or miss a game or 2 or something like that. Colby Allard, he's on the 40-man roster. He was not good.
Awful.
Early. Yeah, they took him off the roster, put him on the, he's back now. 4.15 ERA in his last 7 appearances in AAA, 2.49 ERA in his last 4 games. So based on the fact that he's on the 40-man and he's pitching relatively well, he'd probably be the next guy up. But then you're looking at Tyler Phillips, who Dave Dombrowski loved in spring training, 7.3, 4.89 with the Iron Pigs. David Buchanan, 4.3, 5.19 ERA. That would be an awesome story, but Phillies are trying to win games, not make awesome stories. The killer, I think, is just Mick Abel. It's killing him. It's killing him. Like, he would be the guy right now that would be up if he was doing what everybody expected to do. He's 1-7, 7.08 ERA in 12 starts this season. In his last 5 starts, a 9.70 ERA, 18 walks, 17 strikeouts in 21 and a third innings in his last 5 games. He's walked more than he has struck out. So that's a killer.
This is the time he should be knocking at the door and blowing down the door. In terms of, he's been around enough a little bit where there should be some signs of readiness. I'm not saying all the way, but some signs of readiness, and there is a need, and he's just not doing it. I think back to Kyle Kendrick in 2007. He came up and filled the breach when they had a problem there. They need kind of somebody like that, at least at the ready, if another need arises, and certainly if Mercado is not the answer, there will be a need because, Turnbull's going to need more time. This is how injuries go. He comes out of the game the other day with a little tightness, and now it's 6 to 8 weeks, or what is it, 6 weeks?
6 to 8 weeks. Yeah.
So you never know until the evaluation happens. But Mick Abel's inability to throw strikes at the core of pitching, throw strikes, right? At the most fundamental thing a pitcher needs to do is throw strikes, and he's not doing it. It's just really a head scratcher.
So here's where, if I'm sitting there, I'm a GM and I have another injury and I have to replace a player, especially on the mound, I need to get somebody I can trust. And when I say trust, someone I know will be able to step on the mound at a major league game and be able to throw a strike. And it doesn't matter with 2 different pitches, whether it's a fastball or a slide. I need somebody who can throw strikes, and I need somebody who can keep me in a baseball game for 5 innings with this offense. Now, the offense is taking a strike, taking a couple of hits, but I'm going to go to a guy like Buchanan because I know the guy's going to get up there and throw a strike, or somebody that I know is going to, or someone else. But I say like Buchanan because, just as you said, Jim, we brought Kyle Kendrick to the big leagues because we figure, you know what? He's going to throw a sinker. We're going to catch it when they hit it on the ground, and we're going to get it out. And that's exactly what Kyle Kendrick did. And he didn't do anything dazzling. Little sinker, little slider, little occasional changeup. But he got the ball on the ground, and he ate up innings, and that's what you needed somebody to do. And I think a guy like David Buchanan, that's why you have a guy like that. Hopefully a Colby Allard can throw enough strikes to get on the mound and throw a strike. And if they can't, and they have somebody who cannot do that, then that's troublesome. And so if somebody were to go down, I think that's the at least short-term answer. Someone who they can feel they can trust. Rob Thompson, Caleb Cotham, Dave Dombrowski. The guy can stand on that bump and throw a strike.
All right. Can I ask this question just to backtrack and get off the pitching from and go back to Harper? And give me a quick answer because this very well probably will be dated. But as we sit here on Friday morning, how long do we think Harper's going to be out, Ruben?
The man doesn't bruise and the man doesn't swell. He's never. He's a Superman. And so if it's a grade 2, it's 6 weeks. If it's a grade 1, it's 3 weeks.
Todd, how long is Bryce Harper out?
I'm going to say 3 to 4 weeks. If it looked, it looked really bad, but you are right, Ruben. He's had some injuries where it looks awful, and next thing you know, he's back.
He's a cyborg. The man's a cyborg.
He's a cyborg. Jim, what do you think?
The way he grabbed and what I know about hamstrings, and he's an explosive guy with his legs. I know Marsh made it back quick, but his was quite mild. But Turner still, he's not running full speed, which is a little irksome. I know he's protecting it, but I'm going to guess as we sit here and having not heard the medical evaluation, they're going to be without him for a month. I kind of hope I'm wrong that it's short of that, but I think that's
if it's not a cramp. If it's not a cramp, it's 6 weeks. Okay. If it's not a cramp and it's a grade 2, it's 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah.
So what do they do?
And if it is a grade 1, as I said, it's going to be 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Okay, so say Harper goes on the injury list, which we all kind of expect. Cody Clemens probably gets recalled. He's on a rehab assignment. He is healthy, so he probably gets recalled. That That's how do you handle first base? You go with Clemens and Alec Bohm. I hate moving Alec Bohm over to first base. And I know that defensive metrics they're very scattershot, but I think he's a better third baseman than he is a first baseman. I would love to keep him at third base, but I don't know if you can have Cody Clemens hit against left-handed pitching. How do you handle first base for however long Harper might miss?
Whit Merrifield plays first. Whit Merrifield plays first base. They're going to play him at first base, and they're against a lefty, and Cody Clemens is going to do it against a righty. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
And I know Whit Merrifield hasn't swung the bat all that well, but he's going to have to continue to get. I mean, they got to try to find a way to get him hot or viable or someone who's productive, and I think that's the way to do it right now.
Even with the way Sosa swung it while Trey Turner was out, you're not going to put Sosa at third, more often and move Bohm over to first.
They may do that, but I feel, and I think Sosa can still get starts at shortstop and second base. I think Merrifield's going to go play first base because they got to get something out of him.
It might be it's certainly a interesting idea, and it has merit as a way, almost like an investment, to try to get him some pitches, get his eyes going, get his hands going, and get his bat going, because you really need to get something out of this guy.
Yeah, because then you got to make a decision, because if the guy doesn't produce, you may have to release the player. Yeah, because you may. I mean, I love Whit Merrifield. I love the idea of having him, but it's about a production. If they give him enough at bats, and he is now not producing, then they're going to have to get somebody who can do that job, and someone from the right side. Because
so maybe the reps,
from the right side.
The reps, the extra reps, the pickup and gained reps help them. If you do that, you bring him in, you sit him down, and you say, "Hey, I don't want you to worry about a damn thing. I'm putting you out there every night, and you're going to be our first baseman for the foreseeable future." You're a veteran. You don't scare. You're going to help us get through this tough time. Just let it happen.
It's not going to be against the lefty. It's not going to be against the righties. I think he's going to let Cody Clemens hit, because Cody's did a nice job. He's done a nice job against the right-handers when he's got opportunities. But if there's any lefty and there's a chance to get him at bats, they got to find out. They got to find out really ultimately whether he can be a productive at bat off the bench for this team, because they need to win a World Series, and they need to win it with 26 really good players. And if Whit Merrifield is not producing in any way, shape, or form, I don't feel like they have comfort in him to be able to come off the bench and do some damage, they may have to make him a change.
It might prove it either way. So, Schwarber after the game last night said, I don't think it's anything super serious. There's maybe, like, I think somebody said precaution, more of a precautionary vibe to it. But let's say he goes on the injured list as well. They just want to protect him because he's so valuable as well. You don't want him running around blowing out his groin or something like that. Now you're really digging deep into the bench. You've got Buddy Kennedy, who they just picked up, the grandson of Don Money, Millville High School. He's been swinging a good bat in AAA for the Iron Pigs. You've got Wes Wilson, and you've got Johan Rojas, who could come back. He just got sent down, but he could come back, because of the injury. So, do you bring? How would you handle that if Schwarber got down with the DH spot, with the outfield spot? The leadoff spot. You have Stott hit leadoff. You'd have Turner hit leadoff. That doesn't seem to be as serious, but that's an interesting one as well.
It sure is. Jim,
I wonder if you may look at Stott there a little bit. But I think you'd have other options. Turner, certainly, depending on maybe a righty lefty or how you set up your lineup. But I mean, Stott's another guy that I think needs to. They're halfway through the season. He is sputtered at times.
Yeah.
When players go down, other players need to pick up the slack. It would be really good if he could get it going toward what we expected of him this season. And we all, I think, know it's in there, but they could certainly use more out of a guy like that. So I might be tempted at times to take a peek at him up in the leadoff hole.
I mean, I think Stott's probably the guy, and if they don't think that Johan is ready to go, now he has done a pretty good job of getting some sacrifices down and done some things, but I mean, ultimately, if you're not producing, man, it's not. It ain't gonna happen. I mean, you got to leave them down there and let them continue to develop. It's a tough position to put everybody in. And we talked about the next step, next guy up. I don't know that there's necessarily a next guy up. Turner's the guy. Put Turner in the one hole. Let him go.
Yeah.
Put Turner in one hole. Let him go.
Either one of those guys can do it.
Yeah. Who hits third?
Ruben, who are you texting?
I'm not texting anybody. I'm trying to figure out who's on the roster to be able to come up and help these guys.
Who do you have hitting third if Harper's on the injured list as we expect?
You go left, right. You can go left, right. I mean, I don't know. Is it Bohm?
Yeah. Do you take him out?
Do you slide him out of the 4-hole and put him in there? I don't know who goes into the 4-hole. You're in a bit of a conundrum when you're losing two guys in the top three of your lineup.
You've already lost since 3, actually.
Right.
With JT, yeah.
With JT.
Oh my goodness.
It's a conundrum. And Rob Thompson's gonna have to do some serious managing. He's done a really good job of this. And again, the guys have been really super resilient over the years. But there's how much resilience can you have? That's the question.
Right.
But didn't you feel like watching last night? They get really sloppy toward the end of that game, and they basically blow a win for Zach Wheeler.
Yeah, it's kind of sucked for him.
Yeah, he was pissed at the umpire, missed the call, extended the inning. All of a sudden, everything blows up on him. And then just it was like injury to insult. It was like, what else? It was almost surreal. So if they come out of this on, later today on Friday, feeling like they got, 2 decent medical reports, all things considered, that's a win right there. But a victory, they needed to cash in on that victory last night. I'm sorry, even though you're 8 games up and have the best record in the National League, the game you're supposed to win, and that was one they let get away.
Yeah, and the Strominator, he's been outstanding, but he and Hoffman, and so is Hoffman. They gave it up. I mean, Hoffman hangs a breaking ball.
But you know what? They've been so good.
Yeah.
They're going to have a bad one. I'm talking mostly about the defense. It just got away from them.
Yeah. Well, we'll lose later today on Harper and Schwarber. We know Turnbull's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. We know Walker will not be back until after the All-Star break. So things are getting interesting. It was like the summer, the great summer of Phillies baseball. Everything was just going swimmingly well. People were angry because Turnbull wasn't in the rotation for Walker, and that was the big problem. Is which solid number 5 starter can they put in there? And now it's now you're talking about, is Buddy Kennedy going to be up later today? Is Weston Wilson? Is Johan Rojas? How long is Harper out for? How long is Schwarber out for? Did they need to make a trade? Yeah, it was a summer love. Now we don't know what it is. We will find out later today, and we'll be back. We'll be back on Monday. Maybe this is all for naught, and everybody's fine. Unlike
nothing to see here. Nothing to see.
Nothing to see here. All is well. All is well.
You guys want to talk about golf handicaps?
Not mine.
Not mine either.
No, okay. No, not at all.
Not good.
We'll save that for another time.
I'm going to go play some golf right now to try to lower it a little bit more because it's been inflated.
God bless you. We'll be back on Monday again.
Carry your own bag.
Yeah.
No, I'm not carrying my bag. Not doing it.
Smell you later, boys.
I'll smell you, James.
This is The Phillies Show. If you haven't already, please subscribe to The Phillies Show wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. If you like what we do, give us a review. Tell a friend. Catch Ruben, Jim, and me on Phillies Nation TV, presented by Valley Forge Tourism. New episodes air an hour before every Saturday Phillies game on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Replays air throughout the week and on PhilliesNation.com. Get more of Ruben's analysis during, before, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia. on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show and MLB Network. Read Jim at the All City Network at allphly.com. Find more of me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and occasionally on MLB Network.